Hey everybody, Mrs. Maloon here with Unit 15 vocab video number 3. This is our last vocab unit of the year. Super exciting. Don't forget, if you want to play along on Pear Deck, all you have to do is click this link right here. It should open you right back up to where you left off the last time, right? And it should look something like this. This time around, our unit passage is about Ida Tarbell. Ida Tarbell, if you remember, we talked about her a little bit, was a muckraker. So she was a journalist who dug up a lot of dirt on really bad people and businesses and organizations who were treating people badly. And she exposed them, and she helped the government set standards for these people so they couldn't hurt people anymore, so they couldn't send people into dangerous situations to work for them anymore. She helped end child labor. She helped end bad sanitary practices in medicine and food workplaces, so that way the food and medicine we're getting is safe to consume and it's not full of nasty, gross diseases. And she broke up the monopoly of the Standard Oil Company. So instead of being one big giant company that owned pretty much everything in the United States, she wrote an expose on them and showed how they managed to make all that money and get all that power, which was not very good, not very good ways. And she managed to get the government to actually force them to split up, right? Because they were using bad business practices that didn't even give small oil companies a chance to survive. So we have a lot to be thankful to her for. So, woohoo! We do love us some Ida Tarbell. And she did all this while being a woman, which is pretty exciting because women back then really didn't do this kind of stuff. This is not their wheelhouse. So, pretty extraordinary woman. All right, number 11. Your word is mercenary. Say it with me. Mercenary. Good. It's an adjective and a noun. As an adjective, it means acting or working for self-gain only. So if you're doing something simply because you're going to get something out of it, that's doing something in a mercenary way. Okay? Or it's a mercenary act. Okay? Tarbell told the world the truth about the mercenary practices of many large businesses in the country and helped correct those issues so that workers could be safe. Okay? So she... if these businesses were using mercenary practices, that means they were doing things in a way that showed they didn't care about the workers. They didn't care about the people who were getting the job done. They just wanted to make money off of them. And so they weren't setting rules and doing things the right way to keep those workers safe. Okay, so they were called mercenary practices because they were only for self-gain. As a noun, it means a hired soldier or a soldier of fortune. Some large business owners described the muckrakers as mercenaries of the media, reporters who made up terrible lies about companies in order to make money. However, this is because it was often those business owners' bad practices that were being exposed. So the business owners would kind of look at them and say, hey, these guys are mercenaries too. They're just making up all this crap about us just so they can sell newspapers and make lots of money. And usually they did that because their businesses were the ones that were getting expose. Their business practices were the ones being exposed. And so, they tried to tell people, oh, it's fake news, fake media. They're not really following rules and they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing and they're bad journalists. But really, in fact, they were really good journalists who were doing their job and trying to make sure that people were informed and being told the truth about these people and their companies. So it's really... their work is really, really, really important, especially in today's world. So here we have Deadpool, super inappropriate, but he is nonetheless a mercenary. He's somebody who gets hired to go do probably not so great things to people, but he does make money off of that, and it's a completely mercenary practice. He doesn't really care what happens to those people as long as he gets his money. This guy looks like he might be in some mercenary dealings because he's saying, shh, don't tell anybody, don't say anything. I'm going to give you this money. You're going to go do what I need you to do. We're done. Okay, so it's kind of hard to find a not terrible picture of a mercenary. Name something you've done that could be considered mercenary. Now, obviously, you've never killed anybody. That's fine. But a mercenary practice doesn't have to be murder. It can be anything as long as you're doing it strictly for personal gain. Okay. Number 12 is negligent. Say it with me. Negligent. Good. It's an adjective. It's a describing word. It describes nouns and pronouns. It means marked by carelessness or indifference. Means you don't really care one way or the other. Or failing to do what should be done. Right? So if you are negligent, if you notice that part of that word looks like neglect, okay, because they come from the same root word. If you're negligent, that means you are not doing what you should be to take care of your business, right? You are not paying attention. You're being careless because you don't care. And you're just saying, whatever. Okay. Ida Tarbell also helped expose the negligent practices of the coal industry, which often sent men into the mines with no protection and did not do anything to help them if they were injured in the mines throughout the course of their work. Now, the cool thing about this is that this work that Ida Tarbell did actually helped lead to labor unions, which was super important. They're still super important to this day in our country. Because those unions help make sure that businesses aren't taking advantage of people and that they're treating them with respect and dignity and that they're keeping them safe and that they're taking care of them if something happens to them on the job. So if you look here, we have a little advertisement that says, look before you lock. A negligent parent might leave their kid in the back of the car on a hot day with the windows up, right? That's kind of a negligent parenting because they're being careless. They don't really pay attention to the fact that the kid's back there. I will say, as somebody who kind of became a new parent when she started dating somebody with a kid, it is kind of hard to remember to look in the back seat if you're not used to it. So always make sure you look at the back seat before you get out of the car if you have a kid. And then this lady right here is being very negligent because she's texting on her cell phone and she's about to hit these kids in the crosswalk because she's not paying any attention. She's being very negligent. What happens when ... What happens when you are negligent about your schoolwork? What happens to you then? What kind of consequences come with that? What happens when you're negligent towards your pets? How do they treat you? How do they feel about you? And what happens when you're negligent towards your garden? What happens to your plants? All your vegetables and fruit, what happens to them if you are negligent towards them? Notice how negligent is describing you. It's not describing the fruit or the garden or whatever. It's describing you because your behavior is the stuff that's being careless or indifferent. All right, next word is oblivion. Say it with me. Oblivion. Perfect. It's a noun. And it kind of sounds like the word obliviate. So for all you Harry Potter fans, this is where that word comes from. Because oblivion is forgetfulness. Okay, and if you use the obliviate charm on somebody, that makes them forget what just happened to them, right? So it makes sense. But oblivion is forgetfulness, disregard, or a state of being forgotten. Or it could also mean amnesty or a general pardon. So if you receive oblivion for something that you've done in a country, that means the president, king, queen, whoever has pardoned you, and they're like, hey, it's cool, you can come back. Okay. The work of the muckrakers would not allow the malpractice of big businesses or the stories of their victims to be lost to oblivion. Okay, it's not to be lost to being forgotten. Okay, kind of a weird word to use in context. So I don't know if you've ever seen this movie, but it's called The Book of Life, and it's all about Dia de los Muertos. And the idea of the Day of the Dead is that, the dead, their spirits are in this place called the Land of the Remembered. It's like a big fiesta, a big party, and, super cool, and everybody has a great time. But then there's also what's called the Land of the Forgotten, and it's for souls who have nobody on earth to celebrate or remember them on Dia de los Muertos. And this is kind of an image of that. So whenever I think of the word oblivion, this is kind of what I think about, because this is a land full of souls who have been lost to oblivion, right? Because nobody remembers them. Everybody has forgotten them. And so they kind of just turn to dust and they kind of whoosh away. This is also in the movie Coco. This world here is also in the movie Coco. So if you haven't seen Book of Life, Coco is another really great place to look at that. And here we have Jesse from Toy Story 2. And I just want to tell you folks, I love you so much that I went and found this video of that part in Toy Story 2 that always makes me cry with Jessie's little song about, when she loved me, and it was really sad, and it makes me cry every single time I hear it. So, I just want you to know that's how much I love you. I cried in order to get this picture for you, just so you know. Right? But Jessie was kind of lost to oblivion here. She was kind of dealing with oblivion here because she's under the bed. Her owner, Emily, kind of forgot about her and doesn't really play with her anymore because, we grow up and out of things as we tend to do. You don't play with the same things you played with when you were, real little. But Jessie here is kind of lost to oblivion as well. Yeah. So what are some things that could really cause problems if they were lost to oblivion? What sorts of ideas or skills or things that could really cause a lot of problems if you forgot all about them, right? What would happen if, you're riding your bike down the road and all of a sudden your knowledge of how to ride a bike you just forgot it? What would happen to you? Probably crash, right? So what sorts of skills and things, what would happen if some really important skills and things were lost to oblivion? Okay, if they were gone from your memory. All right, number 14, opus. Say it with me, opus. Okay, kind of like open, but with an S at the end. It's a noun. It means an impressive piece of work. So this can be anything, right? If you're a baker, maybe your opus is this really big, giant, beautiful wedding cake that you made that you're super proud of. But when we talk about opus, a lot of times we're talking about musical compositions or works of art. But just keep in mind that opus can be used for anything, okay? Ida Tarbell's opus was her expose of the Standard Oil Company, which led to the breaking up of its monopoly in the U.S. Okay, so that was her impressive piece of work. That's the thing that really launched her investigative journalist career. Her career in investigative journalism. That's probably how I should have said that. Here's some examples. Okay, obviously, one of Da Vinci's opuses was the Mona Lisa. Because that's probably one of the things. Was it Da Vinci? I think. I'm pretty sure. Maybe? I'll have to look that up. And here we have a, excuse me. We have a orchestra leader here who's leading the band in what, might be her magnum opus, might be something she wrote. It might be the opus of another composer. Okay, but this person is conducting the orchestra in that piece, okay, in that opus, that big, impressive piece of work. What's an accomplishment that you would consider the opus of your life so far? Right? Obviously, most of you don't have the opus of your life yet. Peaked kind of early there if you did. But what's something that you've accomplished or something that you've done that you feel might be considered an opus of your life thus far? You can write your answer right there. All right, last word of the day is pallid. Say it with me, pallid. Good. It's an adjective, okay, so it describes nouns and pronouns. It means pale, lacking color, or weak and lifeless. Many big business owners probably turned pallid when they saw Ida Tarbell or other muckrakers interviewing their workers because they knew their questionable business practices might end up in a magazine article. So they probably went, oh no, I don't want these people talking to these muckrakers. They're going to get me in trouble and all that kind of stuff. Probably turned very pale because they were nervous or scared. All right, here we have a couple goths. Okay, they're very characteristically pallid. It's kind of their color wheel right there is black and white, but their faces are very pale. Here we have a very famous painting by Arthur Hughes about a fictional lady called The Lady of Shalott. And there's a very long poem written about her by, I believe, Alfred Lord Tennyson, if I'm correct. But here she is. I kind of circled her here so you can see her. But see, she's very pale. She's very inert. She's not moving. She's very weak. And there's a big story that goes with it. Check it out. Look it up. It's actually a really interesting poem. You should take a look at it. But that is the Lady of Shalott, and she's looking very pallid in her picture here. Draw something or someone who is pallid. Okay, so if you're going to draw somebody who's pallid, you probably want to start with a white pen. And I know who I'm going to draw. Like, woo! Whoops. Fill it in there. Using my home computer, it's a touchscreen. I should just do it that way. That's way simpler. Fill it in. See, oh, it's pallid. They're very white. And that kind of a unibrow going on there. All right, this is not very good. Let's try this again. There we go. And gotta have some scary eyebrows for Lord Voldemort. Just gonna call him Lord Voldy here because I can't fit all that in there. All right, let's scrap that. And you guys can draw your own. Draw something or someone who's very pallid. All right, and that's our last word for the day. So check in with me tomorrow. We'll start off with this word, and we'll get the rest of our Ida Turnfell story. All right, have a good day, guys. Bye.